Okay, real talk. Have you ever stopped and thought, the internet kinda sucks right now? Like, everything's tracked, your data's mined 24/7, ads follow you across the web like creepy digital stalkers, and the same 5 tech companies basically own your entire digital life. And we're just supposed to accept that? That's where Web 3 comes in, this big, exciting promise of a new internet. Decentralized. Private. Owned by users. But here's the problem nobody wants to admit. Most of Web 3 today? It's not actually ready. It's slow, expensive, and honestly kind of a mess. Try using a DApp and tell me it feels better than just logging into Google. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. But buried underneath all the hype, one project is building something different. Not another DeFi casino. Not another dog coin. I'm talking about real infrastructure. Enterprise grade. Ready to scale. And it's not even blockchain. It's called Hedera Hashgraph, and its native token, HBAR, might be the backbone of the next version of the internet. Stick with me because in this video, we're breaking down exactly why HBAR is so much more than a token, and how it's quietly becoming the engine that could power Web 3 without anyone even realizing it. Let's be real, the internet we use every day is kinda rigged. It started off with so much promise, this open, wild space for creativity, connection, and freedom. But somewhere along the way, the dream got hijacked by data-hungry corporations. Web 2, as we call it now, isn't an open field of opportunity, it's a fenced-in playground owned by big tech. Companies like Facebook, Google, and Amazon don't just provide services, they own the infrastructure, the algorithms, the data, and even the rules of engagement. They track your every click, curate your feed, throttle your reach, and package up your behavior to sell to advertisers. They've built trillion-dollar empires off our personal data while giving us virtually none of the value. It's no wonder the internet feels less free than ever. Your feed is manipulated. Your privacy? Gone. Your voice? Often censored or shadow banned. And your data? It's their product. And the scariest part? We've just kind of accepted it. But people are waking up. The cracks are showing. The push for a decentralized internet, Web 3, is gaining momentum. It's a new paradigm where users own their data, communities govern platforms, and no single entity can pull the plug or change the rules without consensus. Web 3 is the antidote to Web 2's centralization sickness. But here's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to talk about. Web 3 in its current state kinda sucks too. Don't get me wrong, the vision is incredible. But the execution? Painfully rough. Ethereum, the OG smart contract chain, is slow and expensive. Gas fees spike at the worst possible moments. You want to mint an NFT or move a token? Better pray it's not during peak hours or you'll pay more in fees than the asset is worth. Solana? Faster, sure. But it's gone down so many times it might as well come with a reboot schedule. Not to mention its questionable decentralization and validator concentration. Avalanche? Complex and fragmented. Cardano? Still more theory than throughput. Polkadot? Brilliant on paper but underused in practice. We're trying to build the next version of the internet, and we're doing it on infrastructure that was never designed for mass adoption. That's like trying to build a skyscraper on a beach. To make Web 3 actually usable, we need infrastructure that's fast, secure, energy efficient, enterprise ready, and, above all, reliable. Enter Hedera Hashgraph and HBAR. Hedera isn't just another blockchain. In fact, it's not a blockchain at all, and that's the point. It's built on Hashgraph, a completely different kind of distributed ledger technology that doesn't chain blocks or rely on energy-hungry miners. Instead, it uses a mathematically elegant system based on gossip about gossip and virtual voting, and it's honestly kind of genius. Here's how it works. Every node in the network shares info with a few other nodes, spreading transaction data like a digital wildfire. That's the gossip part. But within that gossip, nodes also include timestamps and metadata, which lets everyone in the network independently calculate consensus without actually sending votes. The result? Ridiculously fast finality. Like 3 to 5 seconds fast. It also achieves asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerance, ABFT, the highest level of security you can get in distributed systems. It means the network keeps working even if some participants act maliciously or fail completely. Let's break down the benefits real quick. 10,000 plus transactions per second, and that's on the mainnet, not some testnet fantasy. Finality in seconds, not the probabilistic wait and hope system of blockchains. Tiny, predictable fees, often fractions of a penny. Insanely energy efficient, Hedera uses less energy per transaction than a Visa swipe. In fact, it's one of the most carbon-friendly networks on Earth. And this isn't vaporware. These numbers aren't white paper dreams. They're happening right now, in live applications with real users and real value. Unlike Ethereum, which needs rollups, sharding, and layer 2 solutions just to stay afloat, Hedera is clean, streamlined, and powerful right out of the box. Smart contracts? Native. Token creation? Native. File services? Native. Consensus as a service? Yep, native. It's not a Frankenstein chain held together by duct tape and third-party devs. It's enterprise-grade architecture, the kind that banks, governments, and Fortune 500 companies can actually use. And get this, Hashgraph can't be forked. It's deterministic. There's no chance of political disputes leading to chain splits. No governance chaos. No forking wars. That kind of stability? It's a game changer, especially for organizations that need predictable performance and legal clarity. In other words, Hedera isn't here to play the hype game. It's here to be the invisible engine powering the next generation of the internet. So while other projects chase short-term pumps and viral memes, Hedera is laying down the digital plumbing, and HBAR is the fuel keeping it flowing. Stick around because the rest of this video will show you just how deep this infrastructure goes, and why the next version of the internet might already be running silently on Hedera tech. Hedera isn't a hype machine. It's a workhorse, and it's already powering mission-critical use cases around the world. Let's dive into exactly how Hedera is quietly becoming the backbone of the next-gen digital economy. Decentralized identity, DID. Forget logging into everything with your Google account or giving up your data just to prove who you are. Hedera supports verifiable credentials and self-sovereign identity systems. That means you, not Facebook, not some sketchy app, control your digital identity. Governments, universities, and banks can issue credentials that are verifiable on-chain, and users can present those credentials anywhere without exposing sensitive personal information. No more handing over your birth date just to verify you're over 18. Example, the British Standards Institution used Hedera to issue digital credentials. This isn't some experimental test. It's being used to validate professionals and certificates in the real world. Future potential. Imagine digital passports, driver's licenses, diplomas, and even health records that are impossible to forge, easy to verify, and completely under your control. That's what Hedera's DID infrastructure is building toward. Supply chain and IoT tracking. In industries like aviation, pharmaceuticals, agriculture, even fashion, tracking items with transparency and integrity is a massive challenge. Enter Hedera. Its immutable log and consensus service allow companies to record every event in a supply chain, from creation to delivery, in real time. No more tampered logs or unverifiable paperwork. Example, Avery Dennison's Atma.io platform is using Hedera to track billions, yes, billions, of physical items. Everything from sneakers to vaccines can now have a verifiable digital trail. IoT plus Hedera. Imagine sensors on shipping containers feeding real-time data, like temperature or location, directly into Hedera. You could automate compliance, detect spoilage, and optimize logistics with zero manual input. File integrity and metadata proofs. No, Hedera doesn't store files like IPFS, but it does something arguably more important. It provides irrefutable proof that a file existed at a certain time and hasn't been tampered with. Think of it like a digital notary for legal contracts, medical imaging, intellectual property filings, compliance documents. Just hash your file, record it on Hedera's file service, and now you've got an immutable timestamp and proof of integrity forever. This is perfect for businesses, researchers, and creators who need to protect sensitive data or prove authorship in a dispute. Tokenization of everything. Hedera's native token service allows you to tokenize real-world and digital assets without writing complex smart contracts. And we're not just talking crypto tokens, we're talking everything. Carbon credits, loyalty points, real estate, art and collectibles, event tickets. These tokens are native, governed, and built for compliance. That means businesses can actually use them without worrying about hacks, gas wars, or regulatory gray zones. Micropayments and programmable money. Here's where Hedera gets especially exciting. Because of its ultra-low, predictable fees, it can do things other networks simply can't. It makes micropayments viable. Imagine paying per second for streaming video or music, OT devices for sensor data, writers and artists for every view, click, or download, educators per lesson, minute, or even quiz attempt. This completely rewires how we think about payments and business models, and it's only possible with a high-performance DLT like Hedera. Bottom line, Hedera isn't just talking about use cases. It's delivering them, right now, and at a scale few others can touch. Let's get something straight. Infrastructure isn't sexy. It's not what grabs headlines or goes viral on Twitter. You won't see CNBC talking about consensus timestamps or gossip protocols. But just like the internet needed TCP, IP, DNS, and HTTP to become what it is today, Web3 needs invisible, bulletproof rails that just work. And that's exactly where Hedera shines. It's the invisible layer quietly enabling the next evolution of the internet, not through hype, but through real, working infrastructure that's already being adopted by the kinds of players who build tomorrow's digital economy. Let's zoom in on what makes Hedera's architecture uniquely suited for this role. The Hedera Governing Council, decentralization with stability. Most blockchains talk about decentralization, but what they really have is mob rule, whales, validators, and insiders driving decisions behind closed doors. Hedera flips that model on its head. Its governing council includes global giants like Google, IBM, Dell, LG, Boeing, Deutsche Telekom, and Standard Bank. Each runs a node, votes on governance, and rotates in and out based on fixed terms, with no single entity ever having majority control. This isn't centralization. It's transparent, structured decentralization, the kind of model enterprises actually trust. These aren't venture funds looking to dump tokens. These are billion-dollar companies using Hedera to build real-world solutions and betting their reputations on its reliability. Public ledger plus enterprise backbone equals hybrid power. Hedera doesn't force a false choice between public and private. It blends both. You get a public, auditable ledger with the transparency of a blockchain, but with the privacy and performance options enterprises need. That's why ServiceNow is integrating Hedera into their enterprise workflow systems. Why HSBC is exploring tokenized bonds on Hedera. And why South Korea's Shinhan Bank is trialing stablecoins on top of its rails. This is enterprise adoption, not white paper speculation. The mirror node system, scalable data access. Another quiet superpower of Hedera, its mirror node architecture. These nodes replicate the network's transaction history for public consumption without clogging the mainnet. This means apps, analytics tools, explorers, and enterprises can access clean, real-time data without slowing anything down. It's like having a live API into the brain of Web3, without rate limits, massive hosting bills, or relying on centralized indexers. Native services, everything you need, built. Forget the duct tape architecture of Ethereum or the patchwork of Layer 2s. Hedera gives you everything you need, natively. Smart contracts, V2, with predictable gas fees. Token service with built-in compliance tools. Consensus service for ordering events in real time. File service for proof of data integrity. Scheduled transactions to automate time-based logic. This all-in-one toolkit lets developers and enterprises focus on building, not fighting the network. No custom bridges. No third-party oracles. No governance hacks. Just clean, scalable, out-of-the-box functionality that's enterprise-grade from day one. Alright, so let's zoom out. Everyone's chasing the next meme coin, the next Alt L1, the next AI token that might moon. But here's what most people miss. The real money isn't in the hype. It's in the plumbing. In every gold rush, the winners weren't just the miners, it was the folks who sold the picks, the shovels, the railroads, and the banks. In Web 3, the infrastructure is the gold rush. And Hedera is quietly becoming the plumbing for a decentralized future. Let's break it down. 1. HBAR equals fuel for everything. HBAR isn't just a governance token or a speculative asset. It's the fuel that powers the entire Hedera ecosystem. Every transaction, whether it's minting a token, verifying a credential, timestamping a file, or sending a payment, consumes HBAR. And because Hedera is actually being used, demand for HBAR is growing alongside real-world adoption. This is utility-backed value, not Ponzinomics. 2. Deflationary pressure plus treasury activation. Hedera's tokenomics are designed for long-term sustainability. Fixed supply of 50 billion bars, no hidden inflation. Smart treasury unlock schedule tied to usage milestones. Increasing network fees equals more HBAR burned. As enterprise usage scales, that supply-demand flywheel spins faster. And with Hedera's treasury being gradually deployed to support developers and adoption, we're watching a carefully orchestrated value accrual machine in real time. Compare that to Ethereum's chaotic gas model or Solana's instability. Hedera is engineered for enterprise-grade scaling and economic soundness. 3. Institutional-grade infrastructure. Let's talk about what the big players really need to build on-chain. Finality in seconds? Predictable costs? Regulatory compliance? No forks or governance chaos? Global node network with brand trust? There is no other DLT that checks all those boxes like Hedera. None. That's why the council matters. That's why the Hashgraph model matters. That's why smart developers, CEOs, and policymakers are paying attention. Hedera isn't trying to be flashy. It's trying to be the invisible infrastructure layer that powers everything from DeFi to DMV records. And guess what? That's where the trillion-dollar opportunity lies. 4. The AI plus Hedera megatrend. Now here's a bonus alpha. AI and Hedera are quietly becoming the ultimate tag team. AI agents need secure, verifiable data pipelines. They need tamper-proof logs. They need micropayments. They need identity layers. Hedera checks every box. Imagine this. AI agents paying each other in real time using HBAR. Supply chain AIs logging events to Hedera for auditability. Autonomous vehicles verifying part provenance on-chain. Decentralized AIs using Hedera's consensus service to resolve conflicts. We're heading toward a future where AI runs on DLT rails, and Hedera is the one network built to handle that scale, speed, and trust requirement. The AI boom is just starting, and Hedera is positioned to be its backbone. Conclusion: the next internet is already here, and it runs on HBAR. The writing's on the wall. Web 2 is crumbling under the weight of censorship, surveillance, and centralization. Web 3 is rising, but it needs real infrastructure to support billions of users, trillions of interactions, and a new global digital economy. Most chains aren't ready. Hedera is. It's not a hype chain, it's a deployment chain. It's not trying to go viral, it's powering infrastructure silently behind the scenes. It's not for gamblers, it's for builders, enterprises, governments, and the next generation of digital pioneers. HBAR is more than a token. It's the key to the next internet, where identity, ownership, and value flow seamlessly across borders, platforms, and industries. So while the masses chase the next pump, the smart money is watching the foundations being poured, and it's watching Hedera. And maybe, just maybe, the internet of the future won't be built on hype, forks, or downtime. It'll be built on Hashgraph, with HBAR flowing through its veins. Stay early. Stay smart. Stay hedged with HBAR.